Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on today with some special selections, which is where one of you tell me exactly what you want me to check out. If you want to submit your own special selection, you can find the link in the description. Today's special selection comes at us from Garrett. It says, Bear Ghosts Beware and Big Town Banksy Blaine's Brockabilly Barbecue. In that order. I won't at all be offended if you do them both in the same video, but that decision is entirely yours. No. No, we're going to do one video for each. Just because that's what we do, right? So let's get into this. We got some Bear Ghost here. The song is called Beware. I want to point out real quick, the album is called Your Parents Are Only Marginally Disappointed in Your Musical Taste. Phenomenal. But then this artist picture right here is just, yeah, I don't want to know how many times it took to get that, but it is well worth whatever time it took. I'm exceptionally excited to get into this. So we got Beware by Bear Ghost. Yeah.
Stop right there. Have you not heard the tales of the spooky forest where the haunted creature hails? Gather round, please. Take a seat. We have something to share. There's so much to learn about the bear. Firstly, he's a beast, unlike any you've known. He's died a billion times to sleep and birthed a billion more. He's the offspring of death and the champion of gore. He's the king of ghostly carnivore. So hungry. When he can't be satisfied, he likes to sing a melody.
Yeah, this is great.
As the cubby ghost, he was among the most frightening, spooky guys of poltergeist. There were specters all around. Then he developed his sense. He's dreadful, out of spite, and he'll give you a chill. His art is so atrocious, it will make you want to kill. He's an eerie creep and an ominous scare.
So good.
Something to beware. We are so hungry. When he can't be satisfied, he likes to sing a melody.
Why does this whole thing have like a very sea shanty feel to it?
To make a sound. If he hears us in his woods, it will be deadly. For his appetite is monstrous. Hey, guy, that's just preposterous. In fact, I've heard the bear ghost rather friendly. Yes, it is quite ghostly. He's been exaggerated grossly, and I ain't going nowhere.
Where are they going with this?
I'm afraid you're misinformed, but whatever, you've been warned. Good luck to you. The rest of us are leaving. Was that? You think you're safe
This is the first time I think the 6/8 feel has really been emphasized heavily.
Lost, I thought I'd trot along and help you find your way. Yes, I can be vicious, but just to those who are malicious. The corrupt, the liars, the cheaters, the thieves, they alone are my enemies. Like this man here takes advantage of and abuses his dear sweet wife. Any kind of crime for any kind of rhyme or reason. Extortion and robbery.
What? What am I listening to here?
Good fun, good fun.
If I had to describe this song in a single phrase, I can't do it in a single word. There's no word that encompasses what I just listened to. If I had to describe this in a single phrase, we've got what if Alan Menken and Danny Elfman teamed up to create a pop rock sea shanty about a tale of people finding the bear ghost in the middle of the woods, told through the lens of some kids telling scary stories around a campfire. Those are not words I ever thought I would utter together in any sort of sequence, much less the one I just spoke. I never thought I'd say that in my life, and it was phenomenal. Man, that was entertaining. Okay, so let's get into some of the stuff going on here. First of all, we got to talk about this kind of sea shanty group telling kind of thing going on here. The song is, I believe, in a fast 6/8, which means we're going to have that 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6, and of course those emphasized 1 and 4s with the speed that they're going at can potentially drive home a 4/4 feel at the 1 2 3 4, a bit of a slower 4/4, but I think it works well. And they masterfully weave between this. There are so many times that I feel like we enter into 4/4 with a triplet feel, and other times where it's full 6/8. And I mentioned there at the end when I believe it was when the ghost came out and introduced himself. That was the first time we actually hit that full-on 6/8 kind of waltzy feel. Otherwise, it was more of this triplet idea, especially with the use of playing the first and the third note of the triplet. So you get bump, ba-dump, 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 ba-dump. And so if we phonetically create that with triplet, 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 you get the trip and the let. And the po is just kind of, it's a rest. You don't say it. Trit, la trit, la trit, la trit. So yeah, they utilize that quite a bit throughout this song. And yeah, it's this really interesting mix where is it in 6/8? Is it in 4/4 the triplet feel? And they never really answer that question. Now, aside from the meter, there are some really interesting things going on with timbre and actually just dynamic elements everywhere that I want to get into. But definitely in timbre, we have a pretty standard punk rock setup, guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. However, we also have an 8-bit kind of Nintendo core, I think is the sound. Um, Little chiptune stuff going on within the backgrounds, as well as some synthy stuff as going on. It is a weird eclectic mix of things, but it all comes together into something that works. I was very thrown off by the chiptune intro, but the way that it bled into the main band coming in, it just, I don't know. I don't know if it's a timbre thing or if it's a mixing thing, production thing, but it really didn't seem at end with itself as I really thought it was going to. And by the end, I was really just expecting this sound, and it just works so well. So yeah, I mean that right there just it caught me really off guard and just worked for me by the end of the song. But of course, that's not the only dynamic element about the track. There's also volume and layering and width dynamics that are present all throughout, sometimes rapidly switching between the two of them. And I think it works so well in telling a ghost story, even though this isn't a scary song or a spooky song, it has that ghost story element to it, especially lyrically. We have these moments where the song will, for two beats, be quiet, and then we'll have a gang vocal, have a volume raise, we'll include, the synthesizer doing a nice stinger, and then, two beats later come right back down to that lone vocalist with the guitar and bass and, subdued bass, subdued guitar, and drums playing behind him. And it's a roller coaster ride. It is an adventure. I love the entertainment value of this song from beginning to end. I think it's extremely charismatic, and it achieves that charisma and entertaining aspect through its masterful use of dynamics. What was the next thing I wanted to talk about though? Oh, I gotta bring I gotta bring this up. Uh, the guitar is great. I love how the guitarist can move between all these different kind of feels. We have sort of like an offbeat kind of reggae thing that goes on at one point. We have sort of like a hardcore element. We have like well, actually not reggae, maybe like jazzy offbeat upstrokes of chords. Um, but yeah, so the guitarist is quite versatile and also very forward in the mix. I paid a lot more attention to the guitarist than I probably should have, but interestingly enough, that's not the highlight. Obviously, the vocalist I think carries a lot of the energy and entertaining factor forward with the band, but I really want to bring some attention to the bassist and the drummer. I'm gonna start with the drummer. I already mentioned that the drummer was playing around with like punkifying a sea shanty, which I mean, sea shanties already kind of exist in punk often, but kind of bringing it to that pop punk area, and by injecting a bit of bounciness that's already there, but really amplifying it. And like I mentioned, they did that by removing the second hit out of the triplets, and it kind of creates this rough bounciness that amplifies a lot of what's going on in the track as far as just being fun and groovy and boppy. A lot of that's coming from the drummer. But again, a lot of versatility there as well. The drummer finds multiple ways to go about really nailing in this 4/4 feel against the 6/8 shanty style. And of course, there at the end, some really neat techniques as well to help emphasize that 3/4 waltz feel in the final 30 seconds or so of this track. So the drummer actually has some really neat tricks up his sleeve. The bass, though, I want to talk about the bass. It is it's interesting as far as production goes because the bass is not hidden at all. I would say the volume for the bass is at a really good level, but I'm not sure what aspect makes it more invisible. I don't know if anybody else had a hard time honing in on it. I mentioned that the guitar constantly caught my attention. The vocalist, of course, caught my attention. The drummer's doing some really cool stuff. I feel like all of this has the spotlight, but not the bass. And I'm not sure what production thing ties into this. The bass has volume. If I look for it, I can hear it quite clearly. It's just, it never draws my attention despite it doing some awesome stuff. First of all, we have some jazzy bass line walking. And I'm a sucker for that. I think rock works very well with walking bass lines. I think it's a disservice to a lot of rock, especially mainstream rock, and any sort of genre that ties off this. Any pop rocks, pop punks, pop emo, anything that's radio friendly, I would say. They tend to underutilize the bass, and it does a lot of pedal note playing. Basically copying whatever the guitarist is doing, but playing the lowest note rather than actually having any sort of movement. It's sort of taking a note and sticking with whatever rhythmic elements either in the bass kick or the guitarist or, whatever. And rock works so well with a walking bass line. It just it's a perfect pairing, and I really wish I heard it more often. I think it's fantastic here. In fact, a lot of those jazz stylings that are utilized to kind of create the bounciness and fun element of this track is something that I wish I could see more of in bands, and it reminds me that I need to check out the Deer Hunters albums. I listened to those quite a while ago, and I haven't gotten around to it. But that's something that this song heavily reminds me of is the Deer Hunter, and yeah, a little off topic, but I got to make a note to remember to check out Act One. I guess that'd be a good starting place. Anyways, back to Bear Ghost. There's all these little jazzy elements in here, and I think the strongest part for me is that walking bass line. It's a simple addition. It's kind of formulaic. A walking bass line has been around forever. It's not like a brand new idea, but it works so well, and I really appreciate its presence here throughout the track. But there's also some really groovy lines that the bass gets, and some really tasty licks as well. And it's worth kind of listening to just the bass for an entire session of this track, and probably all of Bear Ghost stuff if this is indicative of their style, just to get a full appreciation of what the bass is doing, because it is very rarely just kind of sitting there and doing nothing. And like I said, I kind of hate that either the mix or the production or something made it so that it was the last thing I typically heard just kind of naturally, things that were pulling my attention around. The bass just never did. I had to listen in for it. And I do think I missed a lot of cool stuff that the bass might have been doing because I was paying attention to something else. So yeah, just phenomenal work all around. And then I have to give some attention to the story here, the narrative. So it's about a bunch of people who are talking about, have you heard the stories of the bear ghost? He's a haunted creature. One person describes him one way, and the next person says, oh no, it's actually this way. And the last one's like, no, actually I've heard he's pretty nice. So, it's this communal kids around a campfire kind of telling tall tales about the same thing, but they've all heard a different variation of it. And then, of course, the bear comes out. This is a story that is not extremely unique. It's been done across multiple medias, books, film, TV, even other songs, I would assume. And I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I can't believe nobody else has tried this before. But they do this interesting twist on it that I think works extremely well with just like the playful attitude about it, but also all of these little subversions. So there's one part where, I was talking about different people hearing different stories, different tales about this bear ghost. And there's one part we're actually getting both of those simultaneously, one in the lead vocals and one in like a backup vocal. I think it was a falsetto maybe, or a harmony or something going on. And it's saying pretty much what the lead vocalist is saying, but twisted to make it a little bit more positive. So one says, it'll make you want to kill, and the other one says, he would never kill. One calls it a creep, one calls it a friend. One says certainly someone to beware, and the other one says certainly nothing to beware. And I just love that playfulness to it. And that playfulness is present all throughout this track. There's definitely the tongue firmly placed in the cheek. There is a bit of campiness and comedy to this that the group is fully aware of and fully leaning into, that it's a fun, wacky track almost. But I love how that self-serious yet comical aspect works into the music as well. There are definitely parts of the music that are fun. There's a bit that are wacky. There's a couple of sections that are like, wow, why'd you do that? That was pretty weird. That was a weird transition or a weird idea you put in there. But it's all done in an extremely competent way that pulls together into a cohesive a cohesive song that really ties itself together from beginning to end. And I don't feel any aspect of it was out of place despite all the varying changes to it. This is a group that is very comfortable with the music they make, very comfortable with their own style, and knows how far to push boundaries to keep that fun, wacky element to it, while also, keeping it restrained enough that it's a cohesive idea from start to finish, that everything blends together and supports the other ideas rather than pushes against them. And I think that's my big takeaway here, is just how competent the composition as a whole came together by the end, despite all the individual aspects seeming like they should not fit, at times extremely present with that chiptune aspect, but also at other times where it's seemingly more of an underlying feeling like, why did that work? I can't put my finger on what felt odd about it, but it didn't seem like it should have worked. But it came together in the end. And it's a tightrope that they're walking, and they masterfully get from one end to the other without any issues. It's yeah, I'm excited about tomorrow's track. I don't remember what it was called. Oh, it's the Big Town Banky Blaine's Rockabilly Barbecue. Yeah, I'm first of all, that title is just masterpiece. Second of all, I'm ready to see what else they do, especially since this was, man, I kind of wish that, oh, this was 2014, and it looks like the Big Town Barbecue is 2020. So see what kind of maturation of sound they developed across 6 years and a few albums. Yeah, it looks like there were at least 3 albums. I don't know what LP or EP, could have been either. 3 albums between this and what we're going to check out tomorrow. So I'm excited to see how they grew over time and what they're creating now. I mean, December 2020 is only a year ago. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. Bear Ghosts, Beware. That is, with Beware, I was expecting, and Bear Ghost, I was kind of expecting more of a horror themed song, maybe a bit more in the hardcore range, and this was just a delight subversion to that. Absolutely loved it. This is where you guys come in, though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of Bear Ghost's Beware. If you enjoyed it or not, anything that stuck out to you that maybe I didn't talk about, anything that you agree or disagree with me on, go ahead and hit me up with those. Above the description box is Above the comment section is a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. That was interesting. It'll take you to this, though. This guy right here. It has all sorts of stuff in there: merch, Patreon, Discord, special selection, anything you need to do with the channel outside of it, Discord, Twitter. It's all there. You can go ahead and check that out. Yeah, that one did it too. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. Man, that is weird. We got another. No, we don't have. That's the second video today. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That whole sliding thing's really throwing me off. I don't know what to do in it, but I need to fix that. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC tomorrow. As usual, we'll be looking at our final vulnerable track, and we'll be doing a creator request as well. Until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.